As we age, it's natural to ponder how and where we will spend our golden years. Many imagine being close to their children as the ideal arrangement, helping raise grandchildren, sharing life more intimately, and creating memories together. While this scenario is often portrayed as a romanticized version of aging, the reality is far more nuanced. For some, living close to children in later years can lead to unintended consequences, including dependency, strained relationships, and missed opportunities for personal fulfillment. Here are 4 in-depth reasons. 1. The burden of care, balancing love and responsibility. A primary concern for aging parents is the fear of becoming a burden to their children, a concern that carries significant emotional weight for both generations. The National Alliance for Caregiving reports that over 53 million Americans currently provide unpaid care to family members, with a staggering 61% of these caregivers also managing full or part-time employment. This dual responsibility often leads to caregiver burnout, a condition that manifests as emotional and physical exhaustion, affecting the caregiver's well-being, relationships, and professional life. The emotional complexities of this situation are frequently shared through personal anecdotes on forums and social media platforms. A particularly poignant story comes from a woman who moved closer to her daughter, hoping to build a more integrated family life and assist with her grandchildren. What started as a well-meaning decision quickly turned into a source of tension. She found herself increasingly reliant on her daughter for small but frequent forms of assistance: rides to appointments, help with errands, and emotional support on challenging days. Over time, she realized that her proximity was placing unintentional pressure on her daughter, who was juggling a demanding career and her own family responsibilities. The mother expressed her regret, sharing that despite her daughter's loving nature and willingness to help, her presence added stress and complexity to her daughter's already busy life. "I thought I was helping, but I realized I was intruding," she said. "It broke my heart to see the strain it caused, even though she never said anything directly." This scenario highlights a recurring theme. While the intention behind living close to children is often rooted in love and the desire to strengthen family bonds, the reality can be far more complicated. Proximity often increases the likelihood of unspoken resentment, even in the most caring relationships. The closer an aging parent lives to their child, the more likely they are to become entwined in the family's daily routines, which can create an unspoken expectation of care and involvement. For the adult child, this can lead to feelings of guilt for not doing enough, despite their best efforts, and for the parent, it can bring a growing sense of dependency and vulnerability. Remaining independent, in contrast, can help alleviate these pressures and preserve the quality of the parent-child relationship. When parents maintain their autonomy, they relieve their children of the implicit obligation to manage their care, allowing interactions to remain rooted in love and mutual respect rather than duty. This independence not only protects the emotional well-being of both parties, but also creates a healthier dynamic where visits and interactions are intentional and joyful, rather than obligatory or fraught with underlying tension. 2. Loss of independence and identity. Independence is a cornerstone of self-esteem and cognitive health, particularly in older adults. The ability to make decisions, manage daily tasks, and navigate life autonomously fosters a sense of control and purpose, which are crucial for emotional well-being. Research consistently supports this connection. For instance, a 2022 study published in the Journal of Aging Studies highlighted that seniors who maintained autonomy exhibited better mental health outcomes, including lower rates of depression and anxiety, compared to those who relied heavily on others. Autonomy not only strengthens psychological resilience, but also encourages older adults to remain physically active and mentally engaged, both of which contribute to a longer, healthier life. The loss of independence, however, can be a gradual and insidious process, often tied to living in close proximity to family. A particularly illustrative example is the story of a man who moved next door to his son, believing it would make life easier and allow for greater family connection. Initially, the arrangement seemed ideal, He enjoyed the convenience of having help nearby and the opportunity to see his son and grandchildren regularly. Over time, though, he began to lean on his son for small favors, rides to the grocery store, assistance with errands, or help with household tasks. These requests, though seemingly minor, became increasingly frequent. He admitted that after a while he stopped attempting many of these tasks on his own, knowing his son would step in to help. As the months passed, he found himself feeling less confident in his ability to manage even simple aspects of daily life. The sense of accomplishment he once felt from completing tasks independently began to fade, replaced by a growing reliance on his son's support. Reflecting on the situation, he lamented, "I forgot how to live by myself." What he initially saw as a convenience had unintentionally eroded his self-reliance and with it, a vital part of his identity. Maintaining independence also plays a critical role in preserving identity. For many older adults, their sense of self is tied to their ability to manage their own lives, make decisions, and contribute meaningfully to their communities. Losing this autonomy can lead to feelings of invisibility or irrelevance, particularly if they perceive themselves as a burden to their families. By remaining independent, they not only uphold their dignity, but also continue to define their own lives, ensuring that their later years are characterized by fulfillment and purpose rather than passivity. 3. Strained relationships. Proximity magnifies friction. Living close to adult children often comes with the hope of deepening familial bonds and sharing life's moments more intimately. However, the reality can be far more complicated, as proximity sometimes magnifies the very differences that naturally exist between generations. Relationships that might otherwise remain warm and harmonious can become strained when the boundaries between parent and child blur, making space for minor disagreements to escalate into ongoing sources of tension. A Pew Research Center survey underscores this dynamic, revealing that 25% of adult children who live near their parents report an increase in conflicts, particularly over decision-making and lifestyle choices. The reasons for this friction are multifaceted. Proximity often leads to more frequent interactions, which may bring to light everyday habits, preferences, or approaches to life that clash between parents and their adult children. What might have been minor irritations in a relationship defined by occasional visits, such as differing views on parenting styles, household routines, or even dietary choices, can grow into more significant sources of conflict when shared spaces and overlapping schedules become the norm. This is not a reflection of a lack of love or respect, but rather the natural challenges that arise when individuals with different perspectives and priorities spend extended time in close quarters. Physical distance, by contrast, often acts as a buffer that preserves the quality of these relationships. When parents and adult children live apart, their interactions tend to be more intentional and focused on shared enjoyment rather than logistical support or unsolicited advice. Visits are often planned in advance, allowing both parties to approach the time together with a sense of anticipation and appreciation. This intentionality can help reduce misunderstandings and prevent the small grievances that proximity might amplify. Moreover, distance provides the necessary space for both parents and children to maintain their own routines and identities without the constant influence or observation of the other. Parents, in particular, may find it easier to resist the temptation to offer advice or step into their child's household dynamics when they are not physically. 4. Limited social life and isolation. Ironically, the decision to move closer to family, often made with the hope of fostering connection and reducing feelings of loneliness, can sometimes have the opposite effect. For older adults, this choice may inadvertently lead to a narrower social life and increased isolation. When parents rely predominantly on their children and their families for social interaction, they may unintentionally neglect to cultivate their own networks of friends and peers. This dependence can leave them feeling more isolated, particularly when their adult children, consumed by the demands of careers, households, and raising their own children, are unable to provide the consistent companionship their parents might have anticipated. Research supports the critical role of diverse social connections in maintaining emotional well-being during later life. A study published in the Journal of Social Issues revealed that older adults with broader and more active social networks consistently report higher levels of life satisfaction and significantly lower rates of loneliness and depression. These networks provide not only companionship but also a sense of belonging and engagement with the world, factors that are crucial for mental and emotional health. Without such connections, seniors may find themselves retreating into isolation, even when living in proximity to family. The story of a woman who shared her experience online illustrates this reality. After relocating to live near her son and his family, she expressed her regret, noting how her well-intentioned decision had left her feeling more alone than ever. "I left behind my friends and community, thinking I'd be included in my son's life," she explained. "Instead, I feel more isolated because he's so busy." Her expectation of being seamlessly integrated into her son's daily routine clashed with the reality of his demanding schedule. With her previous social network left behind and her son's availability limited, her sense of connection dwindled, leading to feelings of loneliness she hadn't anticipated. This dynamic underscores a critical truth. Family relationships, while deeply meaningful, are not always sufficient to provide the social fulfillment older adults need. While children and grandchildren offer love and support, they cannot realistically serve as a parent's sole source of interaction or engagement. The vibrancy and purpose that come from building relationships with friends, participating in community activities, and pursuing individual interests cannot be replaced by familial interactions alone. These broader connections contribute to a richer, more balanced life, fostering a sense of independence and joy that is difficult to achieve when one's social world is centered solely around family. Living independently or maintaining some distance from family can actually encourage older adults to seek out and invest in these external connections. By remaining active in their own communities or exploring new environments, they are more likely to engage in social activities, develop friendships, and participate in hobbies that bring meaning to their lives. Whether it's joining a book club, volunteering for a cause they're passionate about, or simply spending time with peers who share their interests, these activities provide a sense of purpose and a reminder of their ability to contribute to and thrive within society. This sense of purpose becomes even more critical as individuals age, helping to counteract the feelings of irrelevance or dependency that can sometimes accompany later life. Moreover, these relationships provide a level of emotional support that complements, rather than replaces, the bond they share with their families. When visits with children and grandchildren are no longer the sole highlight of their social calendar, interactions with family become more cherished and less fraught with unspoken expectations or disappointments. In essence, the pursuit of a vibrant, fulfilling social life outside of family is not a rejection of familial bonds, but a way of enhancing overall well-being. By nurturing a broader network of relationships, older adults can maintain their independence, avoid the pitfalls of isolation, and cultivate a life rich in connection and meaning. Moving closer to family may seem like a straightforward solution to combating loneliness, but without a concerted effort to build and sustain external social ties, it can lead to unintended consequences. A well-rounded, connected life requires more than proximity to loved ones. It demands active engagement with the broader world, a pursuit that ultimately enriches not only the individual but also their relationships with family. While the idea of living close to family may seem appealing, it's not always the best choice. Independence, personal growth, and the preservation of healthy relationships often flourish with a bit of distance. Your golden years are an oppo.